These are 7 things that quietly disappear after you retire. And I didn't fully expect them until I was actually living this reality day after day. If you're already retired or planning to retire early, especially the way I did, this might help you feel less alone in what you begin to notice shifting. And stay until the end, because the final thing that fades might surprise you. One of the first changes I noticed was that some friendships simply drifted away. Not because of conflict, not because anything went wrong. Our life stages just moved in different directions. Most people are still working, raising families, managing responsibilities, living inside a packed routine. And retirement pulls you out of that rhythm. When their days are filled from morning until night, and you suddenly have wide open time, the shared structure that kept the connection alive starts to thin out. Even long-standing friendships, the ones you assume will always be there, can grow quiet. That happened to me with a few people I had cared about for years. We just slowly stopped talking. And I wasn't prepared for how natural, yet strange, that would feel. The truth is, when you retire, especially early, you enter a completely different pace of life than most people around you. And that creates a gap. Not necessarily a painful one, but a real one. What helped me was realizing that the answer isn't holding tighter to old connections. It's building new ones with people living a similar rhythm now. Retirement is about forming a new community, not waiting for the old one to adjust to your new world. Another thing that disappeared almost immediately was my motivation tied to my former career. I honestly thought it would linger. I assumed some part of me would still crave professional growth, still care about climbing higher, maybe feel a spark when conversations turned to office politics or new opportunities. But it vanished right away. When you're finally free from the structure of a full-time job, something shifts internally in a way you can't predict. For me, it felt like clarity. The goals I used to push myself toward stopped mattering once I truly owned my time. What surprised me is that motivation didn't disappear altogether. It just transformed. It redirected itself into the life I actually wanted. New projects, creative work, personal ventures, those motivate me now, not because I have to do them, but because I choose to. Retirement doesn't eliminate motivation. It removes the kind that existed purely out of obligation. Something else that becomes surprisingly quiet is structure. For decades, your days are organized. Work hours, meetings, commutes, deadlines. Guardrails are built in. You don't even realize how many decisions are made for you simply because routine dictates them. Then you retire, and that framework disappears almost overnight. It's like stepping out of a building into a vast open field. I went from constantly checking my calendar to barely looking at it at all. At first, the lack of structure feels disorienting. But gradually, you realize you now get to create your own rhythm, one designed around the life you want, not the job you had. It's a shift from being carried through your days to gently steering them yourself. And that change feels both unfamiliar and empowering. Ambition softens too, at least the version tied to career. The drive to get ahead professionally, to achieve the next milestone, grows quieter. Not because you lose your inner spark, but because the environment that demanded it is no longer there. When I let go of my professional identity, it didn't feel like losing something. It felt like loosening a grip I hadn't realized I was holding. Ambition still exists, but it looks different now. It's about building a meaningful life, improving personal projects, staying creative, prioritizing health, creating something that feels like it belongs to me. Ambition doesn't vanish entirely. Only the part that was tied to performance reviews and promotions does. And honestly, I don't miss it. Another thing that fades is that constant sense of urgency. When you work full-time, everything feels immediate. emails, tasks, decisions, conversations. There's always pressure because time feels limited. Retirement changes the tempo. You're no longer squeezing life into leftover minutes. You're not mentally racing all day. At first, the absence of urgency feels strange, almost suspicious, like you forgot something important. But over time, it becomes your new normal. I didn't realize how much stress came from that invisible push to go faster and do more. When urgency dissolves, what remains is presence. You're actually in the moment you're living. And I hadn't understood how much I was missing that. Pressure quietly disappears as well. The pressure to perform, to produce, to meet expectations, especially ones that weren't your own. Retirement, particularly early retirement, removes you from a culture of constant proving. There's no supervisor, no metrics, no endless stream of demands. When that weight lifts, your body relaxes in ways you didn't expect. Waking up without an alarm, taking slow mornings without guilt, running errands midweek simply because you can. Over time, you begin to see how much pressure you carried for years. It's not that you stop being responsible, you just stop performing responsibility for someone else. You live it on your own terms. And the final thing, the most surprising, might be your work-based identity. Even if you didn't love your job, it shaped how others saw you and how you described yourself. When I stepped away, I didn't realize how much of my identity was wrapped up in that role. But once it was gone, the part of me that needed to be seen professionally grew quiet. And it wasn't sad, it was freeing. Gradually, your identity rebuilds itself around who you are rather than what you do. You start to see yourself as a whole person instead of a title. That transformation doesn't happen overnight, but when you notice it, it feels grounding. Retirement reshapes life quietly. It's not inherently good or bad, it's simply different. If you expect the changes, you can move through them with more grace. You can build new connections, create new routines, and allow your life to become something that feels genuinely aligned with who you are now. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this resonated with you or helped you understand your own journey a little better, I'd love for you to subscribe or leave a comment. It means more than you know, and it helps me continue creating videos like this. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.